All right. We are live. Welcome to A Fistful of Dice, everyone. My name is Matt. Below me here, I've got a righteous bunch of gentlemen who all agreed to play some Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition with me. These guys are all awesome video producers who are making RPG videos on YouTube on the regular. And I thought it'd be fun to assemble a little A-team here, if you will, to play some Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, which I have yet to DM here on YouTube. So first things first, if anybody's not aware, we are putting on Brigade Con in mid-November. It's actually going to be happening November 15th. And Barker's actually wearing a Brigade Con t-shirt. Check that out.
Right here,
guys. I'm going to go ahead and make that the big screen. Oh, yeah. That is a nice looking shirt. So if you want to look as spiffy as Barker, you need to go down to the link below. We're having a t-shirt booster sale currently, and we're raising money for Child's Play, a really awesome charity that delivers toys, board games, and video games to children in hospitals all over the world. So it's a great cause, and Brigade Con is going to be a lot of fun, I think. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to these guys here. So go ahead and introduce yourselves at your actual person, not your character, and give a little plug for your YouTube channel, and maybe talk about your character a little bit. So we'll start with Barker, and then go Juice, Nate, and Tim.
Awesome. My name is Barker. My channel is called Be a Better Game Master, and hopefully you'll check it out, and hopefully it will live up to its name. And I look forward to playing with Matt. I've always looked forward to playing with Matt. I've looked forward to playing with Matt for like 2 years, so I'm pumped. Next.
All right. I am Juce, Juce, and it's misspelled for a reason. It's an inside joke between me and some friends from about 7 years ago. And yeah, I have a channel. It's Juice734 on YouTube. You can find me there. You can find me on Facebook, GM Juice. Join the Tabletop RPG one-shot group if you haven't done it yet for games like this. And yeah, that's about it. I'm really excited to play with Matt as well.
I just want to point out I was excited to play with Matt first. Okay.
I was excited very, very first, so I have you all beat on that for sure. All right, Nate, go for it.
Yeah, my name is Nate, and my channel is WASD20, and kind of named because I was thinking I would be covering a lot of PC stuff too, PC games mostly, but it's really turned into mostly tabletop RPGs, which has become my new obsession. Pretty new to the hobby as the past few months, but really enjoying it and excited to be here in this game. I'll be playing a wood elf fighter named Erdan. So.
All right, guys. My name is Tim. I'm from a very, very new channel, Tabletop Terrors, which I was inspired to make simply just from watching a lot of guys in the brigade. I found out that I liked watching those videos more than I liked watching TV. So, you know what? I'm going to just do this thing. So, Tabletop Terrors, if you want to go subscribe. I've only got like 3 videos, but there's definitely more to come. This is my first time playing a paladin ever, and this is actually my second time playing 5th edition, and I'm playing a dwarven paladin named Durgan Bloodmountain. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, awesome. All right, so before we start into me talking at you for a while, if I could get everyone's AC and also passive perception out of the way, so I just have that in front of me here. So, Barker, what is Aaron's AC and passive perception?
Aaron's AC is the big 12. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
And my passive perception is the glorious 10.
Man. I don't know. I think you might have min-maxed a little bit there, dude. That's pretty high.
I was going to say, I feel bad about my armor class now.
I know. Yeah.
I'm
I
feeling
fudged some
pretty
Stand in
names.
front of me.
He is the wizard.
Stand in
He's
front
not
of me.
supposed to be good at anything other than slinging spells. So that's that's good. Okay, all right.
I'm good
Okay,
at
Juice.
cooking. I can cook.
I have a passive wisdom of 14, or I mean
Okay.
perception of 14,
Okay.
and then armor class of 18.
Damn. All right. Nate, what is Erden's AC and passive perception?
My AC is 16, but I do have a shield that I'll probably normally be wearing on my back, so it could be 17.
Okay.
My passive perception is 14.
Awesome. And Tim, what is Durgan's AC and passive perception?
I have an AC of 17, and it's also worth noting, in case I forget, that because I'm wearing splint mail, I have disadvantage to anything stealth related.
Right. Okay.
So I will definitely try to remember that. And then my passive perception is 11.
11. Okay. Great. Thank you, guys. Okay. So, this adventure, like countless old, untold numbers of other adventures, starts in a tavern. But this isn't just your normal, everyday, average tavern. This is the Wayward Wanderer, built in the remains of a ruined, crumbling watchtower. The Wayward Wanderer has been converted into a pleasant, if a bit rustic, roadhouse, about 2 days' march from the nearest settlement. There's the farming village of Brook, about 2 days to the east, and the great human city of Falhast, through the Broken Pass, about 2 days to the west. The Wayward Wanderer is situated on the Meridian, a long dirt road that runs the length of the continent from east to west. It's a road that's traversed mostly by merchants, adventurers, and wayward wanderers. The Wayward Wanderer is famous for its dwarven-made ale and whiskey, particularly its most potent brew, a whiskey called Forge Whiskey, and its hearty venison stews and buttery biscuits, all lovingly crafted by Rorge, the dwarven cook and brewmaster. The main floor of the Wayward Wanderer is dominated by a tavern, with 3 floors of small but comfortable sleeping quarters situated above that, which are reached by a spiraling staircase that spirals all the way up the tower's circumference. The walls of the tavern are lined with old, moldering tapestries and bits and baubles from strange and exotic locales. Some of these objects look elven, others look dwarven. Most of them look completely foreign in origin, unlike anything you've ever seen. Above the hearth, there is mounted a large, well-used warhammer inlaid with dwarven runes, and beside it, crossed over it, is a gnarled staff of yew, topped with a smooth topaz gemstone. On this particular evening, the tavern of the Wayward Wanderer is populated by you 4, as well as a strikingly handsome half-orc man who is a little too good-looking for his heritage. Definitely more human than orcish in appearance. He has long, luxurious hair and a pair of impressive mutton chops. He's flanked on either side by 2 human men with large arms and swelling guts. Aside from you 4 and the half-orc gentleman and his comrades, Rorge's wife, Rianne, a middle-aged human woman with blonde hair and some wrinkles sort of crinkling the edges of her eyes, is bustling back and forth delivering ale and plates of hot food to the denizens of the tavern. So, you 4 could have been staying here at the Wayward Wanderer for several days, or maybe you've just arrived this evening. But in any case, you're not necessarily familiar with one another. So if you could please describe your character and what they would be doing on this fine evening in the Wayward Wanderer. We'll go ahead and start with Aaron.
You see a gentleman in the corner He's not eating or feasting or drinking like anybody else in the tavern. He's shaving. He has kind of a makeshift bowl of shaving cream on the tavern table, and he is shaving with looks like an old dull knife. He's looking at at his reflection in a silvery plate. He doesn't look very clean. He doesn't look like he is very rich, but he's dressed in the clothes that a noble might wear. He looks to his left, and who does he see?
He sees Brasswick. Go ahead and describe Brasswick.
Brasswick's just sitting at a table, and he is kind of flicking his fingers like this above a candle and changing the colors of the flame through various ranges of color. And as he's doing this, he's obviously trying to impress everybody around him with his ability to change the color of it. He's wearing chainmail armor that has dwarven insignias on the shoulders, on some full-plated metal for each shoulder, and he has a battle axe by his side that he every now and then checks down to make sure it's still there. And he does have 2 flagons of ale on his table.
As it should be. Also in the tavern is Durgan Bloodmountain. Go ahead and describe him, if you would.
Durgan sits alone and kind of awkwardly. He probably has a plate of food pushed aside. He's wearing some pretty thick armor. And he has a very large maul sitting next to him at the table. And inscribed to anyone who can read freedoms other than he would probably, and just absent-mindedly thinking, what would drive a man to do such a thing?
Okay. And finally, Erden.
Yes, Erden is a half-elf, a wood elf with dark hair tied back in a knot. And he's sitting there, he's looking fairly uncomfortable, kind of nervously fidgeting, checking armor, and seems to be not too comfortable here in this tavern. He does have a flagon of ale, and he will nervously kind of rest his hand on his sword hilt from time to time and check something else on the other side of his belt here and there too.
Okay, great. So the half-orc man against the bar is slamming drinks at a pretty consistent pace, and him and his comrades are getting a little rowdier as the night wears on. And Rianne, the inn's manager and barkeep, she's kind of throwing him some suspicious looks as the night wears on, trying to keep an eye on him, making sure he doesn't get too rowdy. There's also occasionally there will be a loud dwarven curse word shouted from the kitchen, usually accompanied by a gout of flame shooting from the batwing doors as something in the kitchen lights up as Rorge is working on different things in the kitchen. But Rianne approaches your table, Aaron, and as she sets simply a tankard of water down for you, she says, "Wouldn't you like a room there, hon, to shave in?"
That would be nice. Yes.
Well, rooms are 5 silver per night if you'd like to stay.
I think we've discovered my first problem.
Ah, I see. And that's why you haven't ordered anything either.
I'll be out in just a couple of minutes, I promise.
She kind of like slides the water over towards you and says, "I haven't always had coin either. Stay as long as you wish, as long as you don't kick up a fuss."
Thank you. Thank you.
And she kind of like inclines her head over to the half-orc and she says, I'd rather have 5 men who can't pay and keep to their manners than one of those.
Is he a regular?
Unfortunately, that's Caldor. And if you've been sort of adventuring for any amount of time, you know that Caldor is pretty well known in this area as an adventurer, and he's accompanied by 2 thuggish, dim-witted humans named Grim and Barrett. And he's sort of known for taking on odd jobs in this area, and notably, he's pretty good at his job, but he's very, very self-assured, to the point where wherever he goes, that's his kingdom, essentially. Next, Rianne walks over to Brasswick's table, and she says, well, I see you're already halfway through your 2 flagons already. Can I start another round for you?
Yes, one's already empty. I would love to have another. Elf! Over here! Join me at my table. Who says elves and dwarves can't be friends?
And to which elf do you direct your... Well, because Aaron's half-elf, right?
Yes, he is, but he laughs
the
at
wood
the
elf.
loud and boisterous comment made. But he continues shaving.
And what does Airden think of his call for elves to come drink with him?
Erdan glances over, and my eyes kind of widen in surprise, kind of like I've been deep in thought. And but I get up and I walk over and I say, "What the hell?" And I plop my mug down. But I don't really
I see you're
say
drinking
much.
ale.
That's right.
I see
What
you're
up?
drinking ale. It's unlike most elves. I always see elves drinking wine. You must be a man.
I think the fact that I'm here in this tavern and not back in my wood elf home is evidence enough that I'm not your typical elf.
Well, have a seat. Have a seat. Let's drink together.
Fair enough. My name is Erdan. Well met.
I am Brasswick.
So Rianne next comes over to your table, Durgan, and she kind of looks you up and down and she says, would you like anything to drink, hon? You look like a big enough sort. You could probably handle your booze.
Aye. Bring me something dwarven, if you can. Something thick and dark.
She says, well, my husband Roars, he's a dwarf, you know. His favorite brew is forge whiskey. And if you can handle your dwarven brew, well, it's simply the best.
I do believe that I will have some of that. And I heard some of that business about the young fellow over there. I'd like to pay for his room, but don't let him know it was me.
Oh, well, that's... Knock my earbud out of my ear. She says, that's mighty kind of you, hun. I'll let him know that a kind stranger has paid for his room, and the forge whiskey's on the house in exchange for your kindness.
Well, thank you. And to return it, I also want to make sure he has something in his belly. He looks a little thin.
He does at that.
So I'll go ahead and that will be on me as well. Just keep it between us.
Of course. And she bustles off to get a plate of food and for Aaron and some forge whiskey for you, Durgan. At this point, the half-orc Caldor was what Rian called him, has taken note of the boisterous dwarf Brasswick in the corner, and he kind of like claps one of his human goons on the shoulder and saunters over with a tankard in his hand. And I mean, if Fabio had a orc father, that's what this guy would look like. He's got long, flowing hair. He's got leather armor that's unbuttoned just far enough so you can see that, you know, he's got a well-muscled chest, and his arms are kind of peeking out of this sleeveless leather jerkin. And he saunters over, grabs a chair out from under the table, spins it around, and sits on it, Riker style, backwards, and leans forward and says, "Well then, it seems we have a person who wants to drink with other adventurers. So," and he takes a big swig and he says, "What adventures have you been on?" And he looks at Brasswick.
Oh, I've been on many adventures. I've been a combat medic in many great battles, and let me just say, I don't like reliving a lot of these experiences. But what is then the most dangerous thing you have done yourself, my friend?
The most dangerous thing I've done, and he kind of looks over at his guys and he says, "Well, just last week, I got eaten by a dragon." And he just kind of lets that hang on the air. A big one too, one of those big red ones, not one of the little ones.
My character spits out his ale and can't believe what he's hearing quite.
He kind of like shoots you a glance, Erdon, and he says, "Don't believe me?"
Can't say I do, I'm sorry.
Well, and he kind of like lifts his jerkin down, and you see that there's a pretty nasty looking bite mark in his chest where it looks like a tooth the size of a dagger has punctured him. And he says, "He chomped down a bit as I went down."
You said this was last week?
Aye, last week.
I reach into my pack and pull out this dragon scale. And I say, "Did it look like this?"
He kind of peers at it. "Somewhat."
I just took a dragon down last week myself.
"The hell you did? What color was it?"
Green, just like this scale.
Well then, I'll buy you a drink. And he kind of snaps his fingers, and
happily take.
And Rianne saunters over to the table, and she's got a drink and a plate of food. And she drops the plate of food, which consists of a really kind of hearty, chunky-looking brown stew and a crust of bread, right in front of you, Aaron. And she winks at you and says, "From a friend on the house." And then she, like, kind of drops the drink in front of Caldor a little too roughly, and it sloshes a little bit onto his lap. And he goes, "Hey now, be more careful, wench."
I first of all, I'm wiping the blood off of my face. I cut myself when I heard that he was had a standoff with a dragon, and I'm wiping that off of my face currently. I walk over to the table and I bring my food, and I thank the stewardess, and I sit down at the table. I pull up a chair and I say, "If one of you two pays a copper piece to me right now, I'll tell you if he's telling the truth."
All right, I'll flip you a copper piece.
I've been practicing this spell for quite a while called Detect Thoughts. This is the first time I would ever, as Aaron Ellington, Dice, cast this spell. But the components are gestural, verbal, and a copper piece, and 1 minute of time. And for the duration, I should, if my studies have been correct, be able to read the thoughts of certain creatures. And I would like to choose this creature in front of me. I believe that's how it works, Matt, unless I need to actually select half orc.
No, that sounds good to me. I think that should absolutely work.
If you are seeing this, you're noticing my breathing get heavy.
And as you're doing this, Caldor kind of like sits back in the chair a little bit and is like drinking from the tankard and kind of giving you an odd look.
Um, I learn the surface thoughts of the creature initially. What do I hear or see or feel?
The first thing you feel is pride. Like, you just hear, I am so great. I am amazing. All of these people are so lucky to hear me talk, to be in my presence. Man, they're really buying these stories. I can't believe it.
Oh. Um, I would like to try to probe a little bit deeper into his mind, which game mechanic-wise means he must make a wisdom saving throw. And if
Okay.
it fails, I might gain insight into his reasoning.
What is the DC we're looking at here?
The DC that we are looking at with my spells is 13.
13. So you probe through the layers of his mind, and as you get a little bit deeper, you push past the pride that is sort of protecting the outer layers of his brain, and you kind of hear other voices inside, adult voices that are saying, "You'll never amount to anything, Caldor. Your mother was an orc, and you're gonna die like an orc too." And just various, like, kind of abusive sort of verbal things that are being thrown at him. And as you get kind of deeper into it, you get to the heart of his brain, and you just hear, "I'm going to be an adventurer someday," at the heart of his mind. And you kind of get the sense that this guy is maybe half the adventurer he boasts that he is. He's definitely been out in the world. He's definitely seen some adventures, definitely felled some monsters, but you seriously doubt that he was swallowed by a dragon.
I sit back in the chair and I look to Erdon, whose name I don't know because I haven't heard it yet. I hold up my hand and I say, "Dice."
Erdon, well met.
Well met. I pick up the copper piece and I say, "I will do everything I can to pay you back, but I believe this man, Caldor, needs it more than us." And I hand it to Caldor, I slide it over in front of him, and I attempt to put my hand on his shoulder and say, "You can do it."
And he kind of like shrugs your hand off and steps back from the table, and he kind of like mops some sweat from his brow. He didn't realize he was sweating, but he kind of like mops it off his brow, and he says, "What did you do?"
Not much. Very similar to what you did with that dragon. What really happened?
What?
I
I
assure
told you.
It's more interesting than a lie. Please.
I told you. The dragon swallowed me, and I cut my way out of it. I took out my sword, and I sliced its throat open. Didn't I, boys? And the two humans near the bar, like, kind of nod quickly.
Okay. Okay.
And
I begin eating the food.
So, Durgan, how do you react to all this? There's sort of a gathering now at the other side of the tavern, and you definitely catch wind that there's some magic being cast over there to some extent.
Sure. I guess during all this, as it was going on, I'm kind of just watching, listening, and by the time that the copper piece was slidden back over by Dice, I probably would have been near or behind Caldor, and as he was mopping his brow and kind of backing up, I would clasp, "I want to buy a drink from a man who survived an attack by a red dragon. Can I?"
He seems a little shocked as you come up behind him, and he kind of whirls around, and once he sees it's you, he says, "Sure, I wouldn't say no to a drink, especially since I did survive a dragon."
I don't blame you for wanting to buy a drink for anybody who has fought with the red dragon, but I don't think you'll find that person in this tavern.
Caldor, Kaldor grabs the chair and kind of hurls it towards the bar, and he stalks forward towards you, Dice, and he says,
Whoa.
"Say that again. Say I didn't survive a red dragon."
I'm going to go ahead and make a little will save.
Okay.
I stare him in the eyes. I take my shoulder-length hair and I put it behind my ear, and I wipe a little bit of sweat from my face. Dried blood is seeping down my neck. And I say, "You didn't survive a dragon, and that's okay."
So he sweeps whatever plates of food, tankards of ale, bits of bread or coin are on this table. He sweeps all of it off onto the floor. And his goons at the bar immediately stand up. Their stools clatter across the floor as the three of them descend on the table. What would you guys like to do?
Yeah, immediately Durgan would turn to the two who stood up and try, before they approach, to say something along the lines of, "Not tonight, unless you don't want to wake up."
Okay. What about Airden?
Erdan just stands up silently and he puts his hand on the hilt of his sword, but he does not draw his blade yet.
Okay. Brasswick?
I will point at the door and tell this orc scum to flee as a command spell.
Okay. I believe he has to make a save for that.
Yes, I
Okay.
believe so.
What's your spell save DC?
14.
14. Okay, not bad. Okay, so he makes the save. So you call out to him for him to flee, and you see him. He kind of twitches a little bit and blinks, and then looks at you and says, "No, you can't tell me what to do." And Dice, what are you gonna do?
I hold my hand up and I say, "It's all right. We can all sit back down and enjoy our meals." He might notice that my hand is actually extremely cold, emanating this freezing aura, perhaps onto his face. It just gets a little cooler.
Okay. Okay, so what I'd like for you guys to do, Durgan, go ahead and make an intimidate roll as you call out to these two thugs that are coming towards you from the bar.
Certainly. 15?
15?
Yes, sir.
They both... What's that?
Oh, I said yes, sir. 15.
Okay, cool. So they both kind of exchange glances and stop in their approach to the table, clearly caught off guard by the assuredness in your voice. And then, Dice, do you want to maybe give me a, what is it called in 5th edition, Persuade?
Yes, I would love to give you a persuasion check.
Awesome.
Glorious 8, my humble DM.
8. So your words do not seem to fetter Kaldor's rage at all, and he's actually going to wheel back and take a swing at you as you try to dissuade him otherwise.
I don't blame him.
But you actually managed to duck under his punch, as he has had quite a bit to drink tonight. Okay, so what I'd like from you guys is initiative rolls, please, because this is officially combat.
Going just tight a bit in the side.
Sure, that'd be great. Oh, nice roll, Juice.
Yeah.
Thought it couldn't get worse than my 4.
Beautiful. It's usually, that's how you know it's going to be a good night.
Oh, yeah. Starting out well. Okay, cool. So,
For all you folks at home, I'm looking at a big fat 1.
If only you could be here to see it. Okay, so initiative is going to go Dice, Durgan, Airden, and Brasswick. So, Dice, you are up first. You've got
Excellent.
Kaldor pretty much right in front of you. He's just tried to land a punch on you, and the two thugs have been stopped in their tracks in front of Durgan the dwarf.
He's all I see, and Kaldor's all I see. And my squad leader, Vingian, he's just ringing in my head, freeze the meat, Dice, freeze the meat, freeze the meat. And that's all that's ringing in my head, because as a chef, all I did as a wizard was freeze the meat and turn it into solid objects and throw it into the freezer and do nothing else. And finally, I take my Ray of Frost and I blast it into Kaldor's face. And
Awesome.
that would involve a D8 cold damage.
Okay.
I actually first need to make a ranged spell attack against the target. I'm cheating if I skip that part. And the total that I get is a 15.
15 is a hit, so go ahead and give me a roll for damage.
Well, excellent. Freeze the meat, I hear, and he gets 3 damage.
Okay. So you see sort of blue-white frosty energy emit from Dice's hands and splash across Kaldor's chest, and you can actually hear sort of the creak of ice as his leather armor sort of freezes and his skin becomes icy and cold, but he is still standing on his feet. Would you like to move, or are you going to stay where you're at, Dice?
I think I would. I think Dice would move back as far as he could into the corner, even if it meant an attack of opportunity.
Okay. Yeah, you're able to move away, and he is sort of so caught off guard by the fact that you just blasted him sort of point blank with some ice that he's not going to get an opportunity attack if you want to try to move away from him.
Excellent. So Dice backs away, and he's kind of chucking chairs in the middle to try to create some sort of barriers between him and the exceptionally larger half-orc.
Absolutely. Okay, Durgan, you are up.
So looking at these two humans, can I size them up? Are these armored individuals? Are they just townsfolk? That would probably, make a difference to me.
The two thugs actually look quite similar. They're probably brothers if you stopped and looked at them, but they're both wearing sort of patchwork leather armor. Pieces of it are studded. Pieces of it look more like uncured hide. So they're very lightly armored, and they both have clubs sort of hanging from belt loops. But other than that, they're unarmored and unarmed. So.
Okay. I'm not sure how this works in 5e, but what I would probably try to do is take a step to the one on my left, who's closest, and try to incapacitate him.
Try to incapacitate him? Okay.
Somehow stop him from being involved in the fight.
Okay, so you could either do an unarmed attack, which is just your strength and proficiency bonus, and then it's just 1 bludgeoning damage, or you could attempt to grapple one of them to the floor if you wanted. And basically, when you grapple somebody in 5th edition, you basically just stop them from moving. They're unable to move until you let them go or until they break free of your grasp. So either one of those would probably work.
Okay, I'll go ahead and try to grapple him. Just hold the one on the left.
Okay, perfect. So give me an athletics roll, if you would, please.
Okay. That would be a 16.
16. So you pile onto this this guy on the left and try to incapacitate him. He actually manages to wrestle free of your grasp and shove you back. So he is still in the fight. Okay.
Gotcha.
Erden. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. All
No
right.
problem.
So I draw my slightly curved elven longsword, and you hear just the ring of that steel, and I am moving toward the orc. Am I flanking or anything, or?
No, the orc is pretty much has his sights set on Dice, however, so as you move up to him, he hasn't even really taken notice of you moving towards him.
Okay. I am going to lunge with 2 hands on my sword toward this guy.
Okay.
And 14 to hit.
14 to hit is a hit. Go ahead and roll for damage.
All right. $11 damage.
Wow, okay. So
Nice job.
you slide your sword past his armor and into his side, and he roars with rage and pain. But he's still standing. He sort of stumbles back a bit, puts a hand to his side, and his yellow-eyed half-orc gaze falls on you, Erden. Okay, Brasswick.
All right, I'm gonna do a spell, the I can't even say it.
Thaumaturgy?
Yes, and I want to make the ground rumble underneath where the orc and the two humans are. I'm just gonna look down and just kind of focus on making the ground shake.
Okay, awesome. So all of you kind of feel the ground rumble beneath your feet. And if you take the time to look around, there's nothing falling off the shelves. None of the objects are being misplaced, but it feels like you're in a small earthquake. And as you do this, Brasswick, the two thugs kind of get this alarmed look on their face and look towards you with your hands outstretched and realize that this dwarven spellcaster is causing an earthquake. And both of them are going to try and bolt for the door. As they do so, they run past you, Durgan, and open themselves up to an opportunity attack. So if you would like to make one opportunity attack against them, you may do so.
Sure. I'll go ahead and I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and try that unarmed strike you were talking about, so it'll just be my strength and my proficiency added to the roll, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Oh, wow. Yes. So that would be an 18.
18 is a hit. Go ahead and give me some damage there.
All right. And what's the damage on an unarmed strike?
Oh, I'm sorry. Unarmed strike is just one bludgeoning. So you
Gotcha.
Yeah, you put your arm out and deck one of the guys as they run past and give them a good black eye.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking to do. Just teach them a lesson, not really draw any blood.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Kaldor sees the ground rumbling beneath him, and he manages to keep his footing and not flee towards the door. But what I'm going to do is, Brasswick, if you would like to try on your next turn to do like an intimidation or persuade to try and get him to basically flee, you'll get advantage on that roll since you sort of warmed him up with the rumbling floor. But for now, he's going to turn to you, Erden, this wood elf who's just ran him through, and he's going to take 2 swings at you with his fists. And they're big half-orc fists. So both of his fists land. One of them gets you right across the jaw and actually knocks a tooth loose, and you feel it kind of rattling around in your mouth, and you feel that, or you taste that familiar coppery blood taste. So he deals 3 bludgeoning damage total. He actually critted on a punch.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And he's going to pretty much stay locked with you. He's not going to move away from you. The 2 thugs, however, are going to continue towards the door. And in doing so, they run past Erden and Brasswick. So if you two would like to make opportunity attacks against these guys, you can.
Yeah. Who would go first?
We'll go ahead and go initiative order, so Erden, if you want to do yours first.
All right. I am going to, since they look like they're running, I am going to use the hilt of my sword.
Cool.
Would that just be an unarmed strike, or?
Yeah, I would say you would roll at the same attack that you would roll with your sword, but just 1 bludgeoning damage, essentially.
Okay.
Or, wait. Yeah, we'll do 1 bludgeoning damage. I'll look it up later, but it might be different if you're doing non-lethal with a weapon, but...
Okay. I roll 15.
Yeah, that's a hit. So you bash the back of your sword, or the pommel of your sword, into the back of this guy's head as he runs away, and he puts his hand to the back of his head and stumbles out the front door. Brasswick, would you like to try and make an attack against the other guy?
I don't want to make an attack.
Okay.
I'm going to do the same spell if I can, except this time it's to make my voice boom 3 times as loud as normal for 1 minute. and I can
Okay.
have 3 of these going at one time. So
Okay, cool. So we'll have you do that on your turn.
Okay.
But yeah, so remember you want to do that, and we'll get to it on your turn.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. So both of those guys are headed for the door. One of them is out the door. The other one is not. So Dice, you've kind of backed yourself up into the corner of the tavern. Caldor has turned his attention away from you and is grappling, or not grappling, but he's scrapping with the wood elf. And there's one more guy running towards the door. What would you like to do?
A razor still in hand, I would like to run up to where Caldor is, grappling with the wood elf. Who's on top? Are they rolling around?
They're not really rolling around. Aridin has his sword out, and you see there's blood dripping from the blade. And you can also see there's some blood trickling from Aridin's mouth where the orc has landed some punches. So they're sort of sidestepping and moving around each other in circles as they fight.
Excellent. I would like to run up with my razor and help my new friend and attack Caldor with my razor.
Okay, go for it.
Is a razor a dagger like a finesse weapon, or would you like me to add my...
I'll just say it's a dagger stat-wise.
Oh, thank you, because then I got a 10.
Oh, perfect. A 10 is not enough to pierce his leather armor. As you bring this dull razor up against him, you feel it kind of glance off the thick leather armor that he's got on. But he definitely feels you come up behind him and jab him with this thing, so he is aware that you're behind him now.
Okay.
Okay, Durgan, you're up.
For the one, I guess the henchman that's still in the tavern, I would probably, if he's trying to run out, I would almost give him a swift kick in the pants. I don't know how far away he is from me, but if I can kind of run behind him and just kick him out the door.
Absolutely,
I don't know if I'm close enough to do that.
Yeah, he's definitely within 20 feet or so of you, so you can move up to him and kick him in the ass if you want to do that.
Perfect. Yeah, I just want to get him out of here again. More teaching him a lesson than trying to do any kind of harm that's not going to last a couple of days.
Absolutely.
So I'll do that same thing on arm strike. Oh wow, 19.
That's a hit.
Awesome.
Rad.
Man, good rolls tonight.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you guys are getting all the good rolls out of the way before the real encounters start. That's great. Yeah. Perfect.
Unlike Juce's initiative.
Yeah. Damn, son.
Oh, yeah.
Avoiding dice rolls right now.
Yeah. Okay, so you run up and you kick him right in the behind there, Durgan, and deal 1 bludgeoning damage to his posterior. And sort of get him heading towards the door just as quicker. So, Aridin, we pass the turn to you.
Okay. I think that I am going to, if we're kind of circling here, would I be able to call out to him with my sword raised, ready to strike, "Yield, orc, you're dead"?
Yeah, absolutely. And go ahead and give yourself advantage since Brasswick has been helping you guys out with his thaumaturgy, so roll and intimidate with advantage, if you would.
Okay. 12. 13.
13. So he seems a little too drunk to listen to reason at this point, and the orc blood in his veins is running just too hot at this point. He's not moving towards the door for anything, and he's got bloodlust in his eyes at this point.
I don't know if this would be possible, but then would I be able to... sorry, I'm just looking at the actions here. Would I be able to stand and use the dodge action?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay. So dodge gives you +5 to AC for the turn?
No, it gives you advantage in an active defense. And then disadvantage, I think.
Oh.
Any attack roll made against you has disadvantage if you can see the attacker and you make dexterity saving throws with advantage.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, you You attempt to persuade him to get out, and he is not listening. And then you focus on dodging his punches at this point.
Yep.
Okay, Brasswick, we're to you, and I believe you wanted to get a new thaumaturgy going with a booming voice.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna do the intimidation.
Yeah, do so with
And,
advantage.
Yep. All right. 21, and I'm yelling, "Stop now, orc!"
So
Again,
this
that's 3 times louder than normal.
Yeah, so this booming dwarven voice that sounds like it's 3 times as loud and 2 octaves lower than it should be rattles the windows of the Wayward Wanderer, and it actually stops Kaldor in his tracks as he's wheeling back for another punch at you, Airden. And he kind of looks at Brasswick, and you see his senses kind of come to him as he looks and sees that he's the only one in here. The rest of his guys are heading towards the door, and he's outnumbered 4-1 at this point. And he puts his fist down, kind of holding his side, and he says, "Okay, I'll go. I'll go." What do you guys want to do?
Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
Thank you. Yeah. Just go.
Would I be able to take a couple of steps and try to do lay on hands without him realizing what I'm doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
The way that it works is I have kind of a pool. Basically, until I rest, every time I do it, I can heal 1 hit point.
Okay.
I think is the way it works. Basically, up to 10 times. So all I would do is just, I'd kind of slap him on the back and I'd say, "Go get some rest, lad." But doing a little bit of healing, while I'm doing it.
Right. Yeah, so as Durgan slaps Kaldor on the back, you see just a momentary glow from his hands, and Kaldor kind of flinches from the clap on his back, and then kind of nods to you. And as he moves towards the door, he kind of locks eyes with you, Dice, and kind of just stares you down for just a second, not saying anything, and then moves towards the door with his own 1 remaining henchman. And you see all 3 of them kind of look both ways and then head down the road into the night, and the door closes behind them.
I let all the energy out of me as if I was holding my breath before they left. Like,
And at this point, Rianne has kind of bustled out of the kitchen, and next to her is a stout, broad dwarf with a lot of gray in his beard and hair, and you get the sense that he used to be really fit, really well muscled, and he still looks pretty big, but he's also got the gut of someone who's settled down a long time ago. And he comes out and he says, "What is happening out here?"
he
I
used to
look
be
at him.
really fit, but he has the gut.
I will step forward.
I don't know what that's like, Matt.
Go ahead.
I wouldn't know anything about developing a gut.
I look at him and I have blood all over my sword, and I kind of look at him with a little bit of shame in my eyes, and I say, I'm terribly sorry for the mess. It's the memories, and I kind of look down and I sheath my sword.
He, looks at all of you and he says, "Are there any corpses in the room?"
I don't
No.
think so. No.
"No harm, no foul." And he kind of looks at his wife and then looks back to the kitchen and saunters back into the kitchen. And Rianne kind of looks at all of you and she says, "I was only back there for a couple of minutes, and you boys just had to start a fight."
Well, I wouldn't say we
You know
started.
that we didn't start that fight. I'm going to use my persuasive tactics.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
You know we didn't start that fight. 13.
It doesn't take much persuading to convince her that that drunken half-orc started the fight. So she kind of nods to you, and she kind of throws a rag in your direction, and she says, "If you wouldn't mind, just clean up the blood."
I'll toss it to somebody who was spreading the blood around.
That would be Airden.
Yeah, he's got it right in the face.
I wipe a little bit more off my hilt. I kind of take it and I actually am 2 fingers polishing the hilt of my sword.
Nice.
And then I continue to wipe a little bit off the floor and say,
Okay,
once again,
cool. Yeah, there's definitely not a puddle of blood on the floor or anything, but there's a few splatters here and there where you pierced the orc. So yeah, quiet kind of settles over the tavern. At this point, you 4 are the only ones here, and what began as an evening with you 4 sort of sitting in opposite corners and minding your own business now has you all standing around a upturned table and a splatter of blood on the floor. So what do you 4 want to do or say to one another?
Well, if it's okay, Dice would move directly towards Brastwick. And is it Brastwick? I can't actually see the name on my feed.
Brastwick.
Brastwick. And he walks up to you, and he's kind of tucking in his razor and pocketing it. He says, "Hey, are you one of those wizards?"
No, sir. I am a cleric of Ilmater, god of endurance.
He looks a little disappointed when you say no, but then you say, "I am a cleric," and he looks back at you again. So you know magic.
Well, of course, my friend, but it's given to me from my great god.
Ah. Hi. Nice to meet you. I'm Dice.
You as well, my friend. Those were some pretty impressive moves you had there.
Thanks.
my character kind of goes, magic tricks, nothing more.
Durgan would step forward and, have an uncharacteristic grin and say, "It has been a while since I've been in a good bar fight, though."
Well, boys, take notice of how I handled that. I tried to handle it in as diplomatic fashion as I could, but you guys are a little bit hot-headed.
Oh, we're hot-headed.
I'm sorry, in the heat of combat, something snapped.
Were you a soldier?
I suppose you could say that. I was a defender of the woodland realm. Still am, I suppose.
I was in the King's Army. I was a cook, but I was in the King's Army.
My character looks slightly more impressed than he was in the first place. He says, "Well, at least you were serving."
Yeah, at least I was serving.
My friends, I serve on a daily basis, and for the rest of my life I will serve the one great god of Ilmater.
Really quick, Matt, you said there was blood on the floor. Was that Caldor's blood?
It was Caldor's blood, yes. And there's a... Airden did lose a tooth in that fight, so he's got a little bit of blood on his face, but it wasn't enough to splatter on the floor.
Well, burning hands won't heal him, sorry.
Let me just cauterize your gums here with burning hands at point-blank range.
Opposite, in fact.
I have a question. How long is a short rest?
A short rest is an hour or more.
Okay.
So yeah, if you guys want to kind of hunker down in some chairs and recover a little bit, that would absolutely be a short rest.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, I was drinking my ale.
And I would definitely buy a round for everybody and kind of sidle up to where they are now.
Okay, yeah. So you guys are kind of all gathered around one table now. And during
I pull up a chair. I'm sorry, and I ask, "Who purchased me this meal?"
That was I. I believe in purchasing my friends' meals. And right now, you're the closest thing I have to a friend.
Well, I feel the same about you, strangely. Thank you.
Anytime, anytime.
So during a short rest, I believe you can recover 1 hit die of HP. So that's dependent on your class, and I think wizards are able to regain a certain number of spell slots. I'm not super familiar with short rest, so you'll have to forgive me on that.
I
think
believe,
you're
yes,
right on that.
Arcane Recovery allows me to, but I only cast a cantrip, I believe.
Oh,
so.
well, perfect. And I think the only person who lost any hit points was Airden, so...
Yep, I'm full.
Ladies and gentlemen, the
Cutie
wizard,
elves.
the wizard is not dead.
The wizard with AC 12 managed to avoid a punch. That was just phenomenal.
Very nice.
So you four kind of pull up chairs up into one table, and since you're the only people in the Wayward Wanderer, Rianne definitely gives you her full attention and keeps the drinks flowing and the plates of food coming. And if everybody could please give me a history check really quick, that would be great.
15.
Here come the mediocre rolls. How about a 4?
A 4, okay, all right.
I got a 13.
A 13, so...
-2, so...
Oh, wow, okay, so you guys don't know anything about anything.
I actually
Okay.
got a 15. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So, Dice and Brasswick, you both are sitting here, and first off, you know that the Wayward Wanderer was once the Great Tower of Southreach, and it used to be about 5 times as tall as it is right now. And a few hundred years ago, it was an outpost on the southern borders of the long-fated Kazrin Empire, which fell a long time ago to civil war and dragonfire and a war with giants and all the usual suspects. But you also, as you're sitting there and you're interacting with Rianne and Rorge, the brewmaster, and your eyes keep flitting to the staff on the wall and the warhammer, you sort of put 2 and 2 together and realize that Rorge and Rianne are in fact Rorge Firebrand and Rianne the Enchantress, who are very famous adventurers that used to travel the land doing quests and battling great evils. And it seems that they have not only retired, settled down, and purchased an inn, but also married one another. So do with that information what you will.
Oh, I think our hosts tonight are famous adventurers. I recognize that hammer.
I was thinking that too. I'm glad you mentioned it because I wasn't going to. I hold my hand up to try to get the wonderful enchantress's attention.
She of course bustles over and says, "What can I do for you?"
Okay. We have a bet going. Are you the famous adventurer? And what was the name again?
Rianne the Enchantress.
Rianne the Enchantress. Exactly like that.
And she kind of like looks to the staff on the wall and says, "I am."
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
I'm starstruck.
She says, "It's been some time since anyone's called me that, however."
Why?
Well, Rorge and I, we both decided that the adventuring life was unsustainable. And we came down here to start anew and live out the rest of our lives in... And she kind of looks to the dried blood on the floor and says, "Relative peace."
Sorry.
Do you have children?
Rorge and I... Honey, humans and dwarves can't have children.
Oh, darn. I was gonna
Though it would
say
be
that
quite the
pretty
miracle
amazing.
if we did.
Well, you could always adopt. That's what I figured you meant.
Oh, well, we've talked about it, but I don't think Rorge is very keen on it. Daddy issues and all of that.
Durgan would speak up and say, "Aye, but it is I who should be serving you drinks tonight, ma'am."
She kind of flushes a little bit and says, "I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I had my time in the sun, and, you know, it was fun at the time, but this is what I want now. This is what's fun.
Okay,
And
well,
go for it.
we have a group of people at our table here, and we've just met, but I mean, we're all in a predicament where we wouldn't mind, and I look at everybody else as if I am looking for reassurance, and then I say, seeking some sort of adventure like you did, guys.
I nod.
Me too. I nod.
She kind of like looks you all over and she says, I suppose this is kind of how it happens, isn't it? Y'all come into a tavern, total strangers, walk out with some sort of adventuring band, maybe have a name for yourselves even, like the Frolicking Rhinos or something like that.
You've all played Dungeons and Dragons, haven't you?
I know that I'm familiar with the tropes, honey.
I promise this time I didn't expect it. I just wanted to shave.
She says, well, I may be a arcanist myself, but I believe in the gods well enough, and I believe that the world works in mysterious ways. If you four have been gathered here tonight, well, maybe you have some part to play yet.
The gods do try to speak to us. We just need to listen.
Oh, come on.
She kind of nods towards Dice, and then she says, I listen all the time, honey, but I've never heard a god talking to me.
Then
Well,
just not listen.
And then she says, there was that one time, but that turned out to be a demon. No, wasn't a god.
Demons.
Honest mistake.
All sorts of things, honey. And you hear Roars swear loudly in Dwarven from the kitchen, and black smoke bellows out of it. And she says, I'll be right back, and moves towards the kitchen.
Oh, there's the demons in the back.
At this time, the door swings open, the front door, and standing in the door, backlit by the starlight and moonlight, is a hill dwarf. He's got the functional-looking physique of a farmer or laborer. He's got tangled brown hair and a beard in knots. He's bleeding pretty profusely. He looks battered and bruised.
I jump from my chair and rush over to him. Where are you bleeding from? Let me help you.
He seems taken aback at you rushing over to him, and he takes a step back. You see that he's got his arm in a sling, and in his other hand he's carrying it looks like a woodcutter's axe, but he's wielding it like a weapon. And he takes a step back and he says, "Please, there are more wounded outside. I need your help."
Okay, I'm gonna cast Cure Wounds on him.
Okay.
Right here as a second level. I don't know what it does at second.
I believe it just does 1d8.
Increases by 1d8.
Yeah, 1d8 more.
So do I add my spell casting ability onto it twice, or just for the one overall?
I believe you added on just once.
Just
I
once.
think it's 2d8
Alright, so
plus your wisdom. So
plus 6. 11 hit points restored. As
okay,
I
great.
kind of grab him and do what I do, letting off
So
a
as
nice
you-
white light on him.
As you do that, you see color kind of return to his face, and he still looks a little worse for wear, but he's not wavering as much on his feet. And he says, "Thank you. Your services. Outside, please." And he kind of looks over Brasswick's shoulder at the rest of you. What would the rest of you like to do?
Well, Dice thought immediately. He's surprised. He thought immediately that it was one of those brigands coming back for more of a fight. But instead, I look to Erdon and I look to Brastwick and I pull my razor out and I unsheath it in a way, and excitement is on my face, and I move towards the door.
And I follow towards the door.
Okay. What about you, Durgan?
I would also follow, probably sling my maul over my shoulder and almost roll my eyes, but definitely follow.
Okay, great. So the hill dwarf leads you all outside, and you see, sort of on the road just outside of the Wayward Wanderer, there's a small group, maybe a dozen or so, battered and bruised humans, hill dwarves, and stout halflings, all kind of clutching their loved ones and shivering in the night. And you see a lot of them, their clothes are kind of scorched and charred as if they've been involved in some sort of fire. And the hill dwarf says, "My name is Turl. I come from the town of Brook. And 2 days ago, we were hit by raiders. Came out of the Gavolt Wilds." And all of you know that the Gavolt Wilds are these untamed sort of plains and woodlands far to the south that are populated by savage hill folk, giants and humans mostly. And Turl, this dwarf, kind of leads you over to the rest of the refugees, and he says, "This is all that made it out alive."
And they're all hurt pretty badly?
None of them appear mortally wounded. For the most part, they look tired. Like, they look like they've been running for 2 days straight. They look like they're all about to pass out on their feet. And you see some of them are bandaged, some of them have some splinted limbs and their arms in slings, but none of them are, like, bleeding out fatally or anything like that. Turl actually probably looked the worst out of all of them.
Immediately after hearing that it was the Gavolt Wilds, I would definitely, I would turn and I would say, "These raiders, did you get a good look at them? What were they?"
And Turl looks at you, Durgan, and he says, "Brother, they were men mostly, big men. You know, they say the men of Gavolt, they breed with giants. They got giant blood. Big men, ogres, a couple of giants among them, but there was something else too." And he looks towards the group, which includes children, and he says, "Can we talk inside?"
Aye.
At this point, Rianne comes out too and sees all the wounded, and she immediately sets to bringing everyone inside and getting them set up at tables, making sure they all have food and water. And you see her actually casting a few spells. Dice, you would probably notice this most of all, that she is inciting some incantations, trying to cure their wounds, and even doing a bit of prestidigitation and things like that to entertain the children and keep them occupied. But she gets you four and Turl set up at your table, and Turl's sitting there and he's kind of digging into a plate of stew and crusty bread and downing a few tankards before he feels able to speak. But he looks at all of you and he says, "As I said, mostly humans, some ogres, a few giants, hill giants. They fell upon us without warning, came out of the wilds in greater numbers than we've ever seen. But it wasn't just them. I caught sight of something in the sky, wheeling above the town as it burned. I think it was a griffin. And I'm not sure, but looking through the fire and the smoke, I think there was a man on the griffin. Big man in armor. Very, very nice armor."
He was riding the griffin?
Aye, riding the griffin. And if you all want to give me a history check, that would be great.
$14 for Durgan.
Okay.
That is a natural 20, total 25.
Nice.
Nice. Nice.
So anyone who got over a 15 on that check, you immediately, when you hear griffins and people riding on them, you immediately think of the organization known as the Convocation. And the Convocation is made up of paladins and clerics, good-aligned paladins and clerics, who are essentially the Jedi Knights of this realm. They work alone or in pairs and essentially fly around and see to the problems that people, like normal people, can't see to. They're dispatched to deal with dragons, demons, large uprisings, and they're extremely well respected, but also somewhat feared because they are given sort of untold power and free reign to do whatever they feel is right. And they originate from a place known as Eris, which is a large city built on these floating land masses far, far to the north, known as the Wandering Isles. And if any of you have been there, you know that it is one of the great splendors of the world. It's a sight to behold, seeing this city sort of built among these floating islands. You would also know that Convokers don't usually make it this far south. The towns in the far south are mostly sort of left to govern themselves, and the Convocation doesn't usually send its members down this way.
But a Convoker this far south, that's I've been to the Wandering Isles, but once, but that's not realistic, is it?
And Turl says, I've been alive a pretty long time, and I've never seen a Convoker before. But there was something off about this. The Convokers are supposed to be, and he kind of, it seems like he's looking for a word, and he says, shiny, right? Like, gleaming, righteous, just,
Right.
things like that.
I always took it as metaphor.
Well, this guy looked like he was wearing like black armor, and he was just circling overhead, just watching Brook burn. Like he was just making sure everything was going according to plan or something.
That's not right.
Sounds like we may have a fallen angel of some sort.
Yeah, and as Eridan says this, all of you all know that it's pretty rare that a Convoker goes rogue, but when they do, it's bad news. Like they're given untold power, and they're trained to basically be at the height of their power. You would also know that anyone who would bring in a rogue Convoker or bring them to justice would be paid handsomely in Eris, or any of the Convocation's outposts.
Well, do you remember, gentlemen, what the Enchantress said about just some things and some people together being meant to be? I think we might have found a calling here.
I
Indeed.
think you are right, my friend.
Are any of us crazy enough to take on a Convoker?
I believe
And,
the gods have spoken to us, my friends.
Okay, that means the answer is yes. Anybody else?
I'm in, and I kind of grasp
I look-
the hilt of my
I
sword
would-
firmly.
And I would look to Dice, and I would say, I would take down 10 Convokers if it meant spilling the blood of a hill giant.
I think we're good to go.
And Turl is kind of like, hey, has a spoonful of stew halfway to his mouth, and he says, You're going back to Brook?
If it means preserving life in these lands, then yes, my friend.
I don't know what to say. If there are any survivors there, I mean, I don't imagine there would be, but they burned it all to the ground, but there is something. See, in Brook, there's a temple to Gethion, the goddess of agriculture, farming. Well, in that temple, there's something we in Brook hold quite sacred, an artifact that we believe helps the harvest, blesses us with great bounty. It's a relic of harvest and spring and renewal. And it might not mean much to you, but it means the world to us. And if we were to get this back, and he kind of looks to the other groups kind of seated around you guys, and he says, well, maybe we could start over somewhere. You know, rebuild Brook.
I understand, as I actually have an ancient relic that I am seeking and would lay my life down for, so I would happily take up this quest for you.
I can't believe this. I knew we would find sanctuary here, but I never thought we would find heroes.
Bum, bum,
I'm not a
bum.
And Durgan would look at Turl, and he would say, I cannot promise you the relic. I will do my best. But what I do promise you is vengeance. No wicked deed that happened in Brook will go unpunished, so long as I have breath in my dwarven lungs.
I appreciate that. I very
Spoken
much
like
do.
a true dwarf.
The only promise I like is the promise of more blood on my steel.
Well, you're definitely going to get that. And he says, there were maybe 100 raiders that passed through, but I can't imagine that they would have stuck around for long. So who knows what you're going to find when you get back to Brook. All I can say is I don't have much to give you. In fact, I've got nothing but the thanks in my heart. But you've got that, and you've got my eternal gratitude. And if you bring this relic back, and we rebuild Brook, well, you've got a warm bed and a hot meal anytime you come by, I promise you that.
Aye. Thank you, Master Turl.
And he continues kind of ladling stew into his face. So what would you four like to do here?
Well, gentlemen, I'd say we set off first light, or do you want to get an early start?
Yeah, at this point it's probably about like 9 or 10 at night.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm accustomed to... I don't know about you, but I'm accustomed to life underground, so I can handle the dark.
I would reluctantly recognize the necessity of sleep, and say we should rest. And then but we need a name, like the enchantress said. What do you think? I mean, we're
Kind of
going
like
after
the ring of...
the Convokers. We could be the Provokers.
I kind of like the ring of the frolicking rhinos. Sounded pretty interesting to me.
Name it whatever you want, you silly magician.
Dice, you'll always be a frolicking rhino to me.
I take Erdon's kind of side insult a little bit harder than I might take anyone else's, and I kind of just nod slightly. Frolicking rhinos, that sounds reasonable.
You three are
Barker
the Provokers,
laughing.
I'm the rhino. Duh.
That was me laughing, by the way, not Dice.
I like the ring of Provokers. Provoker sounds good to me.
Provokers. I like it.
I believe it sounds great, too.
That's phenomenal. Everybody get inspiration. Just everybody has inspiration now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, who's going to pay for my room?
I I believe Durgan already did, actually.
I did. Unbeknownst to your character.
Well, if he didn't, I'm gonna write it down anyway. Nice. Thank you.
Okay.
Durgan, without my character knowing. Thank you.
You got it.
All right, so we're going to take a quick, just couple-minute break. I need some more water, and I'm going to use the bathroom, and then we're going to, the Provokers are going to set out at first light, so we will be right back.
What?
All right, see you in a minute.
Sounds good. I'm gonna go get something to drink too. All right.
All right, I'm going to take a quick look at comments while we wait for everyone to assemble here.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Got a pretty good turnout tonight. We got about 32 people watching, so thanks everybody for tuning in. This is the first live game I've run in a while, so I'm really enjoying it.
That's
I'll
awesome.
definitely make this more of a regular thing now that I sort of have my setup all figured out.
Most I've ever had is 5 people watching, so that's really impressive to me.
I mean, that's usually more what it is, so I think I did a pretty good job getting the word out about this early, so...
How many people do we have watching? I missed it.
32 right now.
Holy shit! Sorry,
I'm lucky
yeah,
if
I mean,
watch a video in a day.
and I mean, of course they would be watching us. 32.
Who wouldn't want to watch a bunch of guys talking funny voices for 4 hours? I mean, come on.
Especially after a 2-minute break. I mean, geez.
Yeah. I mean, when people are still sticking around after the bathroom break, that's a good sign. That is definitely a good sign.
Oh, awesome. Red.
Are you not entertained?
Oh man. Okay. So is everybody back?
Yeah, back.
Everybody bathroomed up and drinked up.
Yeah, buddy.
I'll let you
Alrighty.
guys know. You
Cheers.
guys have been cutting out a lot on me, but I think I've been able to follow everything so far. So
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know if
Yeah,
it's just me or not.
I haven't been having any issues with audio this time actually, so that's good. That's weird that would just be cutting out on your end, Juice. Has anyone else been having any issues with audio?
Just,
Only with Tim.
Yeah, once with Tabletop Terrors, but I mean, actually, it was fixed after that. But since then, I've figured that sometimes my video can make that bad. So just let me know if I'm cutting in and out, and I will lower my video settings so you can look at just my chiseled features, as Fox Winter said.
Yeah,
How do you lower the settings? Maybe that's what I need to do.
if you go up to the settings and then, or no, wait, how do you do it? I don't know. Don't ask me. I apparently have no idea.
If you go to the settings, to the actually if you go to adjust bandwidth usage, yes, and you turn that all the way down, it'll just turn into your picture.
Oh,
yeah, nice.
Okay.
Oh,
We all
becomes
did
clear.
that at once. We all went,
I'll put it on low, but yeah, that should help a lot. Awesome.
Cool.
If we're not down to 10 viewers right now, then all the viewers are complete nerds. You think we're nerds?
We have 32 viewers watching us have technical difficulties. Okay, 31. We lost somebody. Okay, great.
Sorry.
Damn it!
We're done. We're
they
done.
were clicking exit as they heard you say it. They're like, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
25 of those are my phishing accounts that I use to subscribe to my channel.
Okay, there we go. That explains it. That explains it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
That's
yeah,
why your bandwidth is so low.
Exactly, because you got 25 accounts watching the video right now.
Yeah. Got to keep us popular.
Exactly,
Awesome.
exactly. Yeah, someone pointed out in the comments, Barker, that you look like Alan Tudyk, and I've thought that for a long time. You probably get that a lot.
I have never gotten that in my life, but I just... You know what I just did. Thank you.
I think I've always thought you look like Alan Tudyk, so take that as you will.
I will. I am a leaf on the wind. Heather, I was just told that I look like Alan Tudyk. She doesn't care.
I don't know if this is better or worse, but I don't know if you guys are into Green Day at all, the band Green Day, but Barker, to me, you look exactly like Trey Cool.
Yeah, he does look like Trey Cool. That's true, yeah.
Like, I put down, because I just was meeting you guys, so I actually put down Dice, Trey Cool, so I remember the names of who was who.
Gentlemen and viewers, you are now witnessing the best day of my life.
That is, yeah. I know your wife might not care, Barker, but you know who does care? 31 viewers, okay?
Yes.
That's who cares. 31 people care that you look like Alan Tudyk and Trey Cool.
31 viewers equals one wife.
Yeah. All right.
All right, let's continue before she kills me.
So, you all decide that you're going to set out to the town of Brook at first light, and you sleep through the night. You're given, if the Wayward Wanderer has suites, you definitely got the suites in this place. Like you got the nicest rooms with the comfiest beds. And the refugees, they're put into the rooms, and then any spillover, they sort of just lay out blankets and cots kind of down in the tavern area. So the Wayward Wanderer sort of like transformed overnight into a shelter for these people. Rianne seems happy enough to have these people in her establishment. Rorge seems a little grumpy, but that might just be because he's a dwarf. You're not really sure if he's just grumpy all the time or if the number of people basically squatting in his establishment is making him grumpy. But in either case, both Rianne and Rorge see you off in the morning. They give you as much ale and whiskey as you deign to carry, as well as enough rations to see you to Brook and back which
Oh, I'm
to
carrying
all of you, you actually take everything out of your bag and put ale and whiskey in. Yeah.
Yes.
Rope? No, I don't need that. I'm just gonna put whiskey in there. But you actually are a little bit emboldened by the fact that you look in your bag and see 5 days worth of rations, enough to see you there and back, meaning that, well, at least they have hope that we're going to be eating on the way back.
Right.
Rianne sort of nods to all of you and says, if you make it back from this, you'll always have a table at the Wayward Wanderer. You're a good sort.
Very
And,
gracious of you.
And she kind of like nudges Rorge, and he's sitting there with his arms crossed, and he says, "Do good, come back alive." And then kind of like wanders back into the tavern, muttering under his breath in Dwarven. And Rianne says, "You'll have to excuse Rorge. He always gets grumpy when there's this many people in the tavern."
I do not blame him.
In any case, good luck, you four.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
she wanders back into the Wayward Wanderer, and the open road beckons you all. So, Brook itself is, as I said, about 2 days to the east down this road known as the Meridian. And you all, I assume, sort of keep your eyes open for danger along the way, but the trip itself actually passes uneventfully. If any of you would like to converse with one another or do anything special on the way to Brook, you may do so now.
I will be holding my my prayer book, and every once in a while I will flip through it and read a prayer to the group, trying to convert them.
Very nice.
What book, what god are you a worshiper of, Juice?
I lost
Ilmater,
it.
I believe,
That's
right?
Yes. Ilmater, god of endurance and life.
Ilmater. I actually noticed that my book that's in my hands is the same book that's in yours.
Really? This is fantastic.
And if you take a look, you'll see that I have paid no heed to the religious canon within, and instead my spell book has been inscribed in the margins of this book. But it's interesting. I would take Dice would take an interest.
How could you disgrace such a great book like that?
Disgrace! I've improved it.
Improved it? You have sacrilege all over that great tome.
Well, it is.
I am
great
outraged. I am going to stay far away from you right now. I am not sure I can forgive you for this great sin.
As he walks away, I say, "No, it's okay."
And Durgan would definitely come up to Dice and say, "You know, lad, as free-spirited as you are, you might want to look into someone named Tritherion."
What do you mean?
Well, it's the god that I worship, and I can promise you he'd have no problem with you writing your spell book in one of his lovely tomes.
I'll look into it.
Aye.
I'm a
Let me know if
leaf
you have
on
any
the wind.
questions.
I'm a leaf on the wind.
Eridon in all of this is trying to walk more quickly, and he's walking where the road goes wide, far to the other side of the road, trying to avoid any religious conversation.
And as Eridon would move away, Dice would probably try his best to move closer, not necessarily out of blatant interest, but out of the fact that he has served also, and my heart yearns to fight with those who have served. And we continue on the road.
All right. So you make camp alongside the road. Again, this is a well-traveled road, so you might even pass by a few merchants or even a band of adventurers coming the other way. But if you inquire about Brook, all of them kind of say the same thing, which is they saw smoke rising in the distance and decided to keep away from it. It looked like bad news and not like something you'd want to venture towards. But if inquiring about sights of savage humans or giants or even asking about a griffin, they all kind of shake their heads and say, no, we didn't say anything of the sort. After 2 days of travel, you arrive on the dawn, and Brook greets you in the distance. At one point, it was a small farming village surrounded by rolling farmlands and pastures, but now it's a scorched ruin, still smoldering days after the raid that robbed it of its people. The air is still thick with the ash that's being kicked up by the wind, and there are very few structures left standing here in Brook. It may have once housed a dozen large families, but now it's completely desolated, and the only people that remain, to your knowledge, are the people currently holed up in the Wayward Wanderer. If you wander closer, you see that the ground is littered with blackened corpses, and sort of indiscernible at this point. The fire has burned so hot. You see that 2 structures still stand, one of them being the forge of the village, which is constructed of stone, and the second being a large stone temple. Anyone who has a knowledge in Arcana can give me an Arcana check.
I will do so. Dice will do so. There's a total of 20.
20. Looking at how the ground is scorched here, and maybe even looking at the scorched corpses, you know that this fire burned so hot and so fast that it wasn't just running by putting torches to the roofs. This was potentially magical fire or alchemist's fire.
This isn't right. This is magic. I promise you. I know magic fire when I see it, and this is it.
Who would do such a thing?
Would any of us have any idea?
Well, according to Turl, it was the raiders from the Gavalt Wilds, but usually the savage hill folk of the Gavalt can't stop fighting with each other long enough to muster up enough people to actually do any considerable raiding in the nearby villages. But it's already kind of set your nerves on edge to know that they've mustered enough forces to do this. And the fact that they potentially have magical support or possibly alchemy on their side is even more disconcerting. And Durgan, you probably immediately notice that there are large footprints in the ground here that appear to be giant footprints.
Okay, so I would probably go to one of the larger footprints, grab a handful of dirt, and just crush it in my hands and seethe, just like, we must get justice.
What is it you're seeking justice for?
Look around you, man! For the murdered people! If a hill giant could hit 2 stones together to make a fire, I would be in awe. Something else did this.
Durgan is right, guys. This is wrong.
Let's follow, and quickly.
Now, really quick, Matt, did you say that there were 2 giant footprints or 2 footprints belonging to giants?
There are lots of footprints through here, so most of them human-sized, but you do notice kind of scattered about there are giant footprints here and there. So it looks like, if you took a moment to kind of take it all in, there were probably dozens of humans and potentially a handful of giants here at one point recently.
Okay.
Well, can't we just follow the footprints, gentlemen?
A man after my own heart.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you see the footprints kind of go all over the place, but they definitely lead you towards the town square where most of the dead villagers have been piled and burned.
Do I see any alive at all, in any way, shape, or form?
This place is a graveyard. There's nothing stirring here aside from the wind. But as you move into the center of town, you actually hear voices coming from the Temple of Gefion, which sits on the other side of the town square. The temple itself is made of stone, so it did not perish in the fire that consumed Brook, but the windows, which at one point may have been stained glass, have been shattered. And the temple itself has been written on. Using blood, the raiders have scrawled messages across the surface of the temple, almost like graffiti, in what appears to be a very purposeful intention to defile this place. The writing is crude, but it says things about false gods and weak deities and things of that nature. So they definitely have purposefully targeted this temple for defilement.
Is it in common? The language, is it common?
It is in common, but it's very, very crude, like almost as if it were written by children or stupid humans.
Is there any indication that we have of where these defilers went after?
Yeah, you definitely hear sort of deep guttural voices emanating from the temple, and you're a little too far away to discern anything specific about what they're saying or number of voices speaking, but the quiet of the town has made it pretty easy to zero in on the location of at least a few people or creatures within the temple itself.
So Durgan would probably look to everyone in the party and say, "Who among us is fleet of foot enough to scout ahead?"
Are you kidding me? Look at this chainmail.
Aye! Look at my split mail!
However, I might be able to create a distraction.
Go on.
I can obviously raise my voice, but I can also originate sound from any point within 30 feet. If I can get close enough, I may be able to make a noise on the opposite side of the building to draw their attention that way while somebody sneaks in the other way.
That's amazing. That's an amazing trick.
Oh, yes. I can teach you a lot, my friend.
I could perhaps do a little sneaking. I'm not the stealthiest of my kinfolk, but I have some training.
I also could make a
Sounds good to me.
thunderclap
Sounds
inside
good to
the
you.
church if I get close enough. That might mess up their hearing enough that somebody could sneak.
Would I recognize the type, the church, and I'm not sure if you've said this, I'm sorry if this is a repeat, the exact temple that this is, the
Yeah.
deity therein?
It's not like it's advertised on the temple itself, but Turl, the hill dwarf, mentioned to you that the temple was a temple to Gefion, who is the goddess of harvest
The
and
harvest,
spring and
yeah.
renewal. Yeah.
Thought so. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So what is our plan, gentlemen?
Well, I'd favor you creating that loud noise you mentioned on the other side of the building, while I sneak in and try to gauge how many we are facing.
Aye. I'll be ready if they come pouring out the doors.
I put my book away into my satchel and say, I think I'm ready too.
Okay. Then once we get in range, I would like to try to do a talking voice, the
Okay.
complete opposite direction as far as I can away from us, so that they'll go
Okay.
that direction.
Okay. When he does this, where is everyone else going to situate themselves in relation to the temple? So the temple itself, there's two wooden front doors which are badly burned and kind of hanging loosely on their hinges, and there's two windows on both sides, sort of at probably eye level, that are set with iron, and probably at one point had glass panes. As well, but they've long since shattered. So front doors, two windows on either side, and it's kind of probably about 30 feet wide by about 60 feet long. So it's a pretty good-sized stone structure.
I'd like to crouch right by that front door.
Okay.
And I'm going to draw my sword as well.
Okay, great.
Now, when I do this spell and I throw my voice, can I make it come from inside the church, a place I'm not seeing? Just 30 feet?
What is the spell, by the way, so I can look it up?
Thaumaturgy. It's the greatest cantrip ever.
Man, we're getting a lot of use out of thaumaturgy, I have to say.
Good role-playing spell.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of good, like, versatile role-playing spells in 5th edition. I love it.
Yeah.
Especially cantrips you can do again and again. Yeah, I'm looking it up here just because I do want to know. So the range is 30 feet.
I think you have to see it.
And it
doesn't say it, though.
Yeah, it says you manifest a minor wonder within range. Yeah, it doesn't specify that you have to see it, so I'm going to say yes, you can. If you know the general location you're wanting it to emanate from, you don't necessarily have to have line of sight to it.
Let's make it a thunderclap instead of a voice.
Okay.
Inside the church.
Alrighty. So, do you warn the rest of the Provokers that you're going to do a thunderclap?
Yes, as we were approaching, I do whisper to them that it's going to be a loud thunderclap.
Yeah.
And before he does that, Matt, is there a place, depending on the angle of the building, is there a place that I can post up, not necessarily to find cover, but if someone ran directly out of the door, they might not see me immediately, but not necessarily hiding to the side like Eridon. Something where I could take a nice swing at somebody or capture their attention or melee.
Yeah, if you take a quick look around, you see that there's a small pile of rubble sort of nearby the door. So if you wanted to crouch kind of behind that or even just kind of hunch near it.
That's what I would do. Kind of hunching, holding my maul, just ready to charge if needed.
Okay, cool.
And Dice the Wizard has played Dungeons and Dragons, so he will stay out of harm's way at the window on the right.
Okay, all right. So you're going to the window.
I am going to the window. I want to look inside, and I want to see if I can see. You said the stained glass is gone?
Yeah, it's been shattered.
Okay, I'd like to be very stealthy and try to peek over it without anybody potentially inside seeing me or hearing.
Okay. Yeah, give me a stealth check if you would, please.
Come on, baby. Nope. That is a 13.
13. So you peek in the window, and you see that the temple itself has been gutted. Most of the pews and shells have been smashed, and anything of worth is long gone. There's really not much left in here. There's an altar on the far side of the building, and set on top of it is a stone statue of what you assume is Geffion. The statue has been likewise defiled, much like the temple, with blood and ash. And there's a small cooking fire in the center of the temple, and surrounding it are ratty fur bed pads. And sort of wandering around the temple, talking to each other, you see 4 creatures. They all appear human, but they are larger than typical men and women. You know that it's rumored that the hill folk often breed with giant kin, or long ago did so and have giant blood. So they tend to average between 6.5 to 7.5 feet tall, very broad and strong and lanky people. They have very sort of dusky tan skin from living out in the wilds, and ratty sort of locked hair. There's two men wearing piecemeal armor, carrying scavenged, rusted weapons and gear. A couple of them even wear stolen pieces of jewelry. All of their skin is branded and painted with strange symbols. So there's 2 bearded men carrying axes and shields on their backs, wearing hide armor, and next to them is a woman with her head completely shaved, and she's wearing some kind of rough spun robes and carrying a wooden gnarled staff with kind of a claw shape on the end of it. The 4th creature that you see is a huge man, probably close to 8 feet tall, with a wild mohawk hairstyle and human bones stitched into his leather armor. And on his back is strapped a great sword that appears much too heavy for a normal human person to carry. All of them have their backs to you, and they are talking in low, guttural voices in what appears to be a strange dialect of common. And they're discussing with one another when the corruptor will return. And Erdon, you're near the front doors, yes? If you could also give me a stealth check, that would be great.
As he's giving you his about to stealth check, I want to touch him and cast guidance on him.
Okay. You
and
do
that
so.
gives him an extra D4.
Yeah, so roll a D4 in addition to your D20, Erdon, and add that to your total.
Cool.
I love that guidance doesn't just give you a +1, it makes you roll another dice. I always love rolling more dice. It's so much fun.
Yes.
Did you say 16, Erdon?
Correct.
Okay, cool. So you actually, the doors hanging on their sort of hinges, you're actually able to see not all of what Dice is able to see, but you are able to discern that there's 4 creatures inside, all large, 1 in robes, 2 carrying axes, and 1 particularly large carrying a large sword. So Dice, you're at the window. Durgan is behind cover near the front doors. Erdon is crouched and waiting by the front doors. And Brasswick, you are preparing to cast your Thunderclap.
Yep, I'm just against the wall outside, maybe near the corner of the building now.
Okay. Would anyone else like to do anything before that Thunderclap goes off?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not for me.
All right. So you all kind of cover your ears in preparation as Brasswick prepares this spell, and a loud crack echoes through the church, and immediately the raiders within spring up to their feet and grab for their weapons as they're covering their ears, and they have alarm on their faces. And the largest one says, he yells out, probably louder than he needs to because he's completely deafened. He says, "Get outside! What was that?" And the 2 men with axes kind of try to shake their heads, and they're moving towards the door. You guys have the jump on these guys, so this is going to be a surprise round, but please roll for initiative and go ahead and type it in the chat window if you would.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's better, Juice. That's not so good, Tim.
Nope.
Okay. Great.
Oh, and I'm just seeing in the chat. Sorry, guys, I wasn't responding to any of that. Yes, my name is Tim, and yes, the character's name is Durgan.
God, that was in the chat. That was totally secret, man. God.
Oh no!
I was supposed to figure, or I was trying to figure out everyone's character name so I could stay in character.
Gotcha. Yeah. I just noticed that. I'm sorry.
So, initiative is going to go Dice, Brasswick, Erdon, and Durgan. So, Dice, you are up first, my friend.
Excellent. I knowing what is going to happen, Dice is going to muster everything he's read out of his canon of Ilmater, out of the margins of it, out of all of his annotations, and summon what he has called a magic missile in through the window, all directed at the beastly one. You mentioned he had a mohawk?
Yes, he does have a mohawk. He's totally Mad Max looking. Like, just totally,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, then maybe I don't want to go for him. You know?
He looks awesome. I don't want to kill
Yeah,
him.
that guy looks dope.
I want to see if he wants to join the Provokers, actually.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have a barbarian, dude. Would you want to get in on some of this?
Yeah, exactly.
Recruit.
With magic missile, I say Osta Morana, and I gesture and I fire out 3 glowing darts of magical force. That was read directly from the beautiful player's handbook.
Nicely done. Available now at your local gaming store.
Available now. I'm such a shill, and I will.
I'm just hoping someday that a game company is going to send me something, man. It hasn't happened yet.
And I'm going to roll all 3 D4 plus 1s at that guy.
Awesome.
The first one is 4 damage. The second one is 4 damage, total of 8. And the third one is 4 damage, total of 12 points.
Yes.
Very nice. So these arcane bolts of pure energy splash across this guy's back, and he actually stumbles forward to a knee, and at the same time his hand goes back and grips the hilt of his greatsword, and he whips it out in one smooth motion. And as the smoke is kind of smoldering off of his body as these magic missiles splash across him, he looks back and locks eyes with you, Dice, and you see hatred in his eyes.
Well, my personality trait is that I can stare down a hellhound without flinching. So, despite my perhaps peeing my pants, I will continue to stare at him.
Awesome. You lock eyes with this guy. You share a moment with him. So, okay. Brasswick, your thunderclap has gone off. What would you like to do now?
If a spell requires concentration and the duration is up to 1 minute, does that mean for, 6 rounds? Or no, 10 rounds I'm concentrating?
It essentially means that you can't cast another spell that requires concentration.
So, but I could then go into attack and
absolutely, yes.
Awesome. Okay, I'm casting Bless on my party.
Oh, awesome.
And that is an extra D4 on saving throws and when you try to attack.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. How long does that last? A minute?
1 minute.
Awesome. That is so good.
You cut out for me one more time. What was it? What was that do?
A D4 added to your attack rolls and saving throws.
Thank you.
And that'll last for 10 rounds.
Awesome.
Wow.
Okay. And would you like to move or do anything else with your turn?
I will move, and I will actually put myself between the wizard and the door.
Okay. Dice is actually on the side of the building. You could take up a post on the other side of the door opposite Erdon if you wanted to.
Yeah, that'll work. I'll do that.
Okay, cool. So, and that actually brings us to Erdon. What would you like to do? You can also, just a quick thing, if anybody wanted to ready their action to attack one of the raiders if they come out of the door, you certainly can.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. So I am going to sidestep a little bit, and but so that I'm still basically half in the doorway, maybe, and get my sword ready.
Cool. You are ready to strike as soon as they come piling out of the doors. Okay, Durgan.
I would also like to ready an action. I will have a hand axe ready to throw if I see one of them come out.
Awesome. Gimli style.
Yeah, baby.
Right on. Okay. So let me actually roll their initiative, because I haven't done that yet. Okay. Okay, so you guys all get to act again before they do, because they
Nice.
rolled crap on their initiative.
I love it when that happens.
So not only did you get the jump on these guys, but you have held the advantage. Dice, you're up again.
Excellent. What would Dice do? Dice, who is the closest person to the door holding a melee weapon?
That would be Erdon and Brasswick.
Excellent. Not only has Dice been historically good at freezing meat as a chef in the army, but he's also very good at heating the metal that singes the sides of the meat for consumption. And he will pull out a small piece of iron and attempt to ignite some flint and steel in order to look at his weapon and make it burn red hot.
Okay, and are you doing that to Erdon or Brasswick?
I would do that to Erdon because he was a soldier.
Alrighty. And what benefit does that give him? Is that going to give him some additional damage on his attack?
You know what? I actually think I may have read it incorrectly. I read that as 2d8 fire damage when he attacks, but it actually says any character in physical contact with the object takes 2d8 fire damage. So, if there's anybody in, I would like to... This whole thought process crosses through Dice's mind, and he says, no, that's a horrible idea. And instead, he looks through the window at the Mr. T looking character, and he to his weapon instead.
So that was actually a Nicolas Cage from Next turn that you just had. That didn't actually happen. It was just one possible permutation of your turn.
Yeah.
I would rather do damage to my friend than have a Nicolas Cage moment.
I
Actually.
can't believe I just managed to reference Next.
I know.
I don't even know what Next is, but I know we're playing D&D next, so...
It's this horrible Nicolas Cage movie. I totally had forgotten about it until just then when I was like, oh, that sounds like that Nicolas Cage movie from like 8 years ago.
So there are multiple dices moving around, seeing every single possibility.
Exactly, yeah.
And he decides to do it to the weapon. What is this... I'm sorry, Mr. T character, this large man holding as a weapon?
He's got a giant greatsword.
Well, that's glorious, because that's made of metal.
Dice.
So,
it is.
I'm going to do it to that, and any creature in physical contact with the object takes 2d8 fire damage when I cast the spell. And until the spell ends, I can use a bonus action on each of my subsequent turns to cause this damage again.
That is so good.
That's rad.
That's great, man.
Oh my gosh. Well, if a creature is holding or wearing the object and takes the damage from it, the creature must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or drop the object if it can.
Amazing. Okay.
Okay, so would you like to roll the 2d8?
Yeah, go ahead and roll your damage, and I'm assuming your spell DC is not higher than 22.
That is regretfully correct.
Cool. So he makes his con save.
Okay, all right.
This guy's a beast. He's holding a flaming sword right now, just like...
Yeah.
I've only made him better. Sorry, guys. That is 5 damage.
5 damage. Okay, great. Yeah,
Well, we are the Provokers.
It's true. You are provoking this guy quite a bit. So just as he's recovering from the magic missiles that slammed into his back, his greatsword glows red hot, and you see steam rising from his hands, and he goes, and just like glares at you, Dice.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
Sorry. All right. That brings us around to Brasswick.
Yeah, I'm going to basically just follow Aridin in front of me. And I'm going to ready my action and have my axe drawn. My battle axe.
Alrighty. Okay, let me ask you this, guys. If you ready an action and that thing does not come to pass before your next turn, is your turn just a wash? Did it not happen?
I don't know.
That's how I've always done it.
Yeah, that's why I usually do it too, but I'm not sure if it's different in 5th edition. But
can you defer an action to go after somebody else?
Yeah, I would say if you wanted to decide to hold your initiative, you could certainly do that.
Okay, I'll hold it till after Aridin then, just because I want to stay with him.
Okay, cool. And that actually brings us to Aridin. So, Aridin, you held your action last turn until they came out the doors, but because they rolled so crummily on their initiative, they have not yet come out the doors.
Right. So, would I be able to rush in, or is like you said a wasted action?
Oh, hell yeah, you can rush in.
Okay. Then I'm rushing in.
Go for it.
All right.
Okay, cool.
I'm rushing in, and I'm going for the closest one to me. Is that Mohawk Man?
No, as you kick in the doors, there are 2 large men wielding axes and shields in your path between you and the Mohawk Man.
All right, I'm running up to the closest one with my longsword.
Okay.
And I say, get him!
And not so good. Oh, so I get this extra D4 on attack, but not damage, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so 12.
12 to hit is actually a hit.
Okay.
Yeah, these guys aren't wearing a whole lot of armor.
You're welcome.
I do 5 damage.
5 damage. Okay, great. So you rush in and catch these guys completely off guard. Your sword manages to slip past their shield and sort of piecemeal armor and slide right through one of them. And he looks pretty shocked. So Brasswick, you held your initiative until after Aridin, so you can go if you wish.
Yes, I am going after the guy that was next to him with my battle axe, and I'm going to swing. I'm going to have my shield in my left hand and come crashing down with my right hand, and I am going to miss incredibly bad with a 5.
Okay, yeah. So you bring your axe down, and this guy is ready. He brings his shield up, and your axe kind of glances right off the shield. Okay. Durgan.
If I saw them rush in, I would just kind of be like, oh, here we go. I would drop the hand axe, and as I was running, I would pull my maul. So I don't know how far I could get, or but really I would just swing on whoever they weren't dealing with, if there is something.
Awesome. Yeah. So you rush into the temple. You easily make it in. There are 2 raiders currently engaged with Aridin and Brasswick. There's the giant man with the mohawk, and there's also a bald woman in robes holding a staff. You can make it to the 2 raiders who are currently engaged with Aridin and Brasswick. You can't quite make it with your speed to the giant man or the robed woman.
Got it. So I'll take whatever raider is closest. Whichever one would come into my line of sight when I went in the door, I would just try to uppercut swing straight to the jaw.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead and roll. You're attacking the one that Aridin is currently engaged with.
Yes. And that is a 12.
That's a hit.
Oh, sweet. Yes. And that was before I added the D4. Yes, thank you for reminding me. All right. And so damage. 6. 9 damage.
9 damage. Awesome. Okay, why don't you go ahead and describe how you just killed this guy?
So, I would walk through the door, and almost as an instinct, just swing upward in my peripheral vision, kind of targeting his head, seeing where my compatriots were, and just swinging upward to try to swing through and take his head clean off. Just
You pretty much rock'em sock'em robot this guy. His head almost comes clean off, and he goes flying backwards and lays in a crumpled heap on the stone floor of the temple. And Erdon and Brasswick both get sprayed with blood as this happens.
Nice.
All right. And that brings us to these guys finally get to go. So you guys essentially just flashbanged the room and then stormed in and killed one of them. So
Spec Ops.
yeah, exactly. So the raider in front of you, Brasswick, is going to swing at you with his axe. As your axe skitters off his shield, he's going to come at you with his. But you easily knock it aside with your own shield. Dice, the large mohawked man, is charging towards the window with a red-hot sword pointed directly at you.
Great.
And
It's a normal Tuesday.
yep, that sounds about right. Yep. And the greatsword comes scraping through the window and cuts your shoulder for 9 slashing damage.
Ah! You hear me scream out.
And you actually feel the heat of the metal as well, so you don't actually bleed that much as the sword both cuts you and cauterizes the wound immediately.
Yes.
And this guy just gets this bloodthirsty look on his face, and he says, "Little wizard man, you will die." Okay, and the robed woman begins speaking in a strange, guttural language and holds her hand out towards Durgan, who just beheaded one of her men with a hammer.
Yeah.
Sorry, looking up a spell. Okay.
Intermission. Ba-ba.
So, Durgan, give me a dexterity saving throw, if you would, please.
Oof, that's my worst. Now I still get to add the D4 to that, is that correct?
You do, yes.
Awesome. So let's see what I can do here, since my dexterity saving throw is -1 before I roll.
Do it, Durgan. Do it.
It would be a 10. Also.
10? Okay. So, the woman holds her staff out, and a softly glowing green and black, almost cloud-like orb comes shooting out of the top of her staff and slams into you, Durgan, and you feel your chest tightening and your heart actually skips a beat as she hits you with necrotic damage, and you take 2 damage.
2 damage.
And that brings us back around to Dice.
Excellent. I was struck in the shoulder, and it hurts, but...
Yeah, it hurts a lot.
Yeah,
It hurts a lot.
it hurts. Yes, just for the record. But I was already preparing the missiles yet again. I can master this magic. I can master the arcane. Boom! And I fire the magic missiles, all 3 of them, bam, 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 directly at the person in front of me who has just cut me along the shoulder and hurt me. And in total, that is 5 plus 4, which is 9, plus 2, which is 11.
11 damage.
And I say, please God, die!
And if you would like to use a bonus action, you can also do fire damage to this guy from his hot sword.
Excellent. Can I? I would like to do that. Good point. Thank you for remembering that.
You're welcome. That's my job.
Thank you. Is it?
Remember, if we
never
could give you
mind when I'm the
inspiration,
GM.
we would give you inspiration. Yeah.
I don't do it for the inspiration. It's okay.
Quickly turning to metal spell. I to cause 2d8 fire damage again.
Yes.
That would in total be 7 points of damage.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And he makes his Constitution save once again and manages to retain his grip on his sword, despite the fact that it is essentially fusing with his skin at this point. It's so hot.
This guy's a beast.
This guy is a huge dick.
Yeah. He really is.
A red hot.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
By the way, anybody, I don't know who might glance toward the window, but if anybody were to, they would see that I'm not doing very well.
Yeah.
I thought I had this, but I'm not.
Yeah. Anyone who saw that Dice ran through pretty good with this guy's huge sword. So, that brings us to Brasswick.
All right. Since I am engaged, I cannot help, even though I see you being tore up out of the corner of my eye.
Excuses.
Yeah, no. Well, I see a big giant fireball, big giant piece of metal fireball. So I'm going to swing with my axe, and again, I miss terribly poorly.
Oh man. Yeah. So you swing again at the barbarian in front of you, and he easily turns your axe aside with his shield.
Don't forget that D4.
I can't
did
use
you
it.
add?
No, I can only cast it on 3 people, and I cast it on everybody else.
Oh man, what a nice guy! What a nice guy!
He's such a
What a
nice
friend, you know?
What a clericy thing to do.
I know.
Hey, I'm just playing my character. Oh wait, I'm using my
pious.
inspiration.
Oh,
You're gonna use your inspiration?
Yeah, good
Yes.
Okay, go for it. Roll another d20.
Yes, much better.
Okay.
That is a 15 for a
That is a
whopping
hit.
6 points of damage as I come back down on him.
Awesome. So you sink your axe into his shoulder, and he cries out in pain. Okay. Erdon.
Am I close enough that I could get a hit on this mohawked fellow?
Yeah, you can move and attack him.
Okay, I look around and I see that is probably my best move to help my wizard friend over there. So I'm gonna run, and am I flanking? Oh, I don't know if that matters.
There's no flanking in D&D, so
Okay. Sorry. Well,
or in
running
5th edition at least.
Yep. And that is a 17.
17 is a hit.
Okay. And oh, not so good. 3 damage.
3 damage.
Yeah.
So you bite through this guy's leather armor, and you can feel that he's got tough hide as well. This guy definitely has some giant blood. Like his skin pretty much turned your weapon aside, and you barely cut him.
Can I ask a question real quick? I'm sorry. I'm not
go
trying
for
to be a rules guy or anything. But when you outnumber the enemy, do you get advantage like that instead of a flank?
I'm not actually sure if you do or not, and I also am not totally sure if you get advantage if you're coming up behind somebody and they're not aware of you. Isn't that a rule as well?
Maybe. I only ask because I ran 5th last week, and it kind of came up because I gave someone the ability to. I house ruled, hey, yeah, take disadvantage, hit more than one person. Well, then I found out someone said they'll automatically have disadvantage if they're outnumbered by bad guys. So
I don't know.
GM's discretion is what I've always thought about that, especially in 5th edition. There's no hard rules about being outnumbered.
Yeah, I would actually say if you're coming up behind somebody and they're not acutely aware that you're there, I would probably give you advantage on at least your first attack before they know you're there. So in that case, Erdon, I would have given you advantage, but you hit anyway. So
very cool.
Okay. So that brings us around to Durgan. So Durgan, you have beheaded one of the raiders. There is one more raider currently engaged with Brasswick, and there is a robed woman and a mohawked man.
What I would probably try to do, if I can do this, is, if it's within my speed, I would try to run to Dice and grab his shoulder, and if I can, I was going to try to use lay on hand, like reach through the battle between Eridon and the Mohawk, and just try to grab his shoulder and try to heal him.
Well, Dice is casting spells through a window, and the large mohawked man is currently pretty much blocking the window from you moving through it. If you wanted to attempt to move past the giant man and cast lay on hands, I would let you do an acrobatics check to attempt to basically run between this guy's legs.
Oh, jeez. All right, I will definitely try, although you know what? I am going to try it, and then if I fail, I can tell you I'm using my inspiration, or do I have to tell you beforehand?
Either way is fine.
Okay, I just know I am a -1 to acrobatics, so...
Oh, okay.
Okay, no, natural 19. And,
Bomb. Okay, yeah.
So perfect. Yes! So that would be an 18.
Awesome. This guy, you managed to basically tuck and roll under this guy's legs, come out of the roll, and thrust your hand through the window and place it on Dice.
Awesome. And then the way lay on hands works is it basically says I have a pool, and I have 10 hit points, so not to metagame, I just don't know, I want to heal him for as much as possible, but I don't want to waste any, and I don't know how many he has taken, if that makes sense.
Well, he's
so I don't know how you want to do that.
Yeah, he's looking pretty injured to the point where if you were to use pretty much all of your pool or close to it, it probably would not go to waste. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and use all of it then.
I would love you forever.
Perfect. So yeah, so I tuck and roll. I roll under this giant's legs, and I just grab, whatever, his arm, his hand, whatever is around, and then just my hands glow, and you see immediately the wound begin to kind of, I grab your face, and use all 10 hit points.
And
awesome.
You said 10?
Yes, it's 10, and I have no more to give.
I love you.
Dice, you feel renewed vigor as the cooling, sort of healing sensation of Durgan's healing prowess flows through your veins.
I am totally cross-classing in cleric next time, bro. I am joining your faith.
And I like your god way more than Brasswick's god right now.
Your god rocks.
Go Tritherion.
Although Brasswick's god is giving you that D4 extra on your rolls, so you probably don't want to toss Ilmater out of bed either. So
Ilmater's all about endurance, fellas. Just remember.
It's true. It's true.
This is so difficult.
7 o'clock and we got our first sex joke. We're about 2.5 hours in. That's not bad. Not bad. That's got to be like a record for me in terms of sex jokes taking.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. Okay, so Durgan, that was your turn. It's time for bad guys to go. So, the large man, he's essentially going to enter a enraged state, which means he's going to gain advantage on his attack rolls. And in addition, until the start of his next turn, anyone who attacks him is going to have advantage on their attack as well, because he's essentially just shrugging off any pretense of trying to block attacks, and he's just trying to kill as much as he can. So he is going to swing downward with his great sword and try and catch you with it, Durgan.
Oh, I bet.
Wow, okay. And you manage to block it by bringing your maul up and catching the sword in the shaft of your maul just in time, and you feel the weight of it kind of like makes you shrug a little, like kind of crouch down a little bit as he drives this huge sword into you, but you manage to stave off any damage that you might have taken.
Excellent.
Exactly. The remaining raider is going to swing at you, Brasswick, with his axe.
He can try.
But you easily knock it aside with your shield. He's sort of fighting in desperation now that you've bloodied him a little bit.
Is that the best you've got?
The robed woman. Let's see. She reaches her hand out towards the Mohawked man.
Ooh.
Oh, come on. Aw, I like how we all
And-
groan simultaneously.
Getting
Aw.
nervous.
She speaks some strange spidery words, and for a second, a shimmery, like, second skin seems to appear on the giant man's frame, and it flickers for a second and then disappears.
That's no good.
Can I
So-
roll an Arcana check to see if I recognize what this is?
Absolutely you can. Anyone who wants to can roll an Arcana check.
Excellent. I got a 10. I don't know if that's enough.
Let's see. What level is this spell? Yeah, that's, no, that's not enough. I'm sorry. Did anyone else want to roll an Arcana check?
I failed it. 3.
Okay.
I'll try.
Okay.
No, 4.
Okay.
Wow.
So you can
We're
assume.
getting them all out now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can assume that it's some sort of protective ward or shield, but the exact nature of it, you're not quite sure.
Okay.
And that brings us back around to dice.
Excellent. I'm going to kind of fall away from the window. If that provides an opportunity attack, no problem. You let me know.
I'm gonna say this guy is so because he's raging, he's probably not going to now.
Okay. I fall away from the window and I reach into my satchel and I reach around for this piece of mica that I have memorized its touch. I've memorized its shape for a long period of time. And I'm gonna pull it out and I'm gonna speak Okaro. Okaro, and this sudden loud ringing noise erupts from a point of my choice, and the point of my choice is going to be right inside that window.
Okay.
And now, what happens is each creature in a 10-foot radius sphere centered on the Mohawked man
Mm-hmm.
must make a Constitution saving throw. And otherwise, a creature takes 3d8 thunder damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. But I would like to say that I am at that point in my wizardry when I can sculpt my spells. So I can pick one person plus my spell level, which would be level 2. So I can pick 3 people within that range and have them automatically succeed at the saving throw.
Awesome.
And yes, and this wonderful cleric of Tritherion that has saved my life, practically, will absolutely have the spell erupt around him and not through him.
Awesome. And Erdon is also within 10 feet of that, so I'm assuming
screw
he
that
would,
guy.
he would get the
Yeah,
same.
I'm kidding. He gets protected also, absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So, so the giant man needs to make a saving throw.
Yes.
Constitution, you said?
Yes, a Constitution saving throw. And
Okay.
that the number he would need to beat, I believe, is 13.
Okay. He makes it, so he's going to take half damage.
Okay, so he would take 7.
7 damage. Okay, not bad.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Awesome.
So he actually gets buckled by this spell and kind of takes a few steps back and is rocked on his feet by the thunder damage that sort of splashes over you, Durgan, completely avoiding you and slams full on into him.
Nice.
Awesome. And I am now prone for all intents and purposes.
Okay, cool. Alrighty, that was dice, so we're going with Brasswick.
Alrighty, I am going to backhand him with my battle axe, with the blade
Awesome.
exposed to his throat.
Yes.
And
Perfect.
yeah, I probably got nothing but air.
Okay.
8.
Yeah, not enough to hit.
Uh,
So he kind of dodges backwards, and your axe kind of passes within a few inches of his neck, but avoids it. Okay, that brings us to Erdon. So Erdon, the giant man is before you. He's got his back to you still, and Durgan is on the other side, and the robed woman is about 15 feet to your left.
Okay, I am a bit miffed at the thick hide of this fellow, so I'm going to muster all I can and swing my sword overhead with 2 hands in a mighty battle cry. Ah!
So before you attack, give me a wisdom saving throw, please.
Okay. Don't like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Remember, you get a D4.
Oh yeah, thank you. Okay,
Thank
so
you, Bruce.
11 plus 13.
Okay, go ahead and attack.
All right. So I already actually did roll, and I got a 17.
That's a hit. Go ahead and roll for damage.
Whoa, that was sweet.
8 damage he takes.
8 damage. Okay. This guy actually, as you slice into him with your sword, drops to one knee. He's not down, but he's looking fairly bloodied at this point. Okay. And it was kind of strange. As you were striking towards him, you almost hesitated for a second. It was weird. It was almost like you didn't want to attack him for a second, but then you shook it off and drove your sword into him. Okay, that brings us to Durgan.
All right, so what I would try to do is and I don't know if I would get disadvantage because I'm under him or what have you, but I would probably try to take my maul when he brought his sword down, and I would try to get as much leverage as I could and hit him somehow. Whatever way seems possible.
Absolutely. Before you do so, give me a wisdom saving throw.
Okay.
And make sure you add that D4.
Oh, right. So, 17.
Okay, go ahead and make your attack.
All right. So, oh, beautiful. 22.
That is a hit. Roll for damage.
Awesome.
Nice hit.
Yeah, dude. 9 damage.
Okay. So you bash one of his kneecaps in.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
And he actually, his red-hot greatsword, he actually sticks it into the ground to hold himself up.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Oh, everybody who attacked him should have been rolling with advantage this turn. I'm sorry, guys, but you all hit, so it's all good. So I would feel bad if both of you had missed. I'd be like, oh, man.
Yeah, right?
Okay.
You did tell us that for the record, but
Yeah.
I forgot.
Okay, so the raider in front of you, Brasswick, is actually going to attempt to grapple you to the ground. He tires of this back and forth. So give me either an athletics or an acrobatics, whichever is better.
16. 17.
Okay, 17. So you easily manage to back off and shove him off from trying to tackle you to the ground.
I push him away with my shield.
Yeah, you basically, he catches on your shield and you just lurch him back and he stumbles backwards. The robed woman speaks a strange incantation again. Eridon, give me a dexterity saving throw, please.
D4.
Yeah, make sure you add the D4.
Sorry, I was muted there. 12.
12? Okay. You actually managed to dodge aside as a streak of green flame shoots past you and scorches against the wall.
Nice.
Okay. And that brings us to Big Guy. So, the big guy, he's sitting there with his red-hot greatsword, leaning on it, breathing heavily. He actually coughs up some blood, reaches into his armor, and comes out with a flask that is glowing red.
No.
And he crushes it in his hands. Eridon and Durgan, please give me a dexterity saving throw.
Oh, wow.
At D4, right? Still in play?
Yeah, still in effect with the D4.
9.
9?
Yep.
10.
9 and 10? Okay. So, as the liquid that's inside this flask is introduced to the air, it ignites. And this giant man is engulfed in blood red flame. And both of you take 7 fire damage as the red hot flames burst forth.
Yikes.
Wow.
So the giant man also takes this damage and crumbles in a smoldering heap on the floor.
Oh wow, suicide.
Effectively suicide bombing himself.
Wow.
And the fire sort of spreads out from him and catches you guys in it, but otherwise does not catch any of the stone. Okay. So that brings us back to dice. So the giant man has crumbled to a smoldering heap on the floor. There's 1 raider remaining, and the bald-robed woman who is still slinging spells in the corner of the temple.
I walk into the temple. My facial expressions are stoic. And I look at the bald woman, and I hold out my hands, and I say, freeze the meat dice. And I fire the ray of frost at her. Quick question for everybody in here. Do you guys see Matt in here in this room anymore?
I do not.
Okay, automatic hit. All right, GM's not here. Automatic hit. She dies.
Triple damage!
She explodes in icicles everywhere,
Yes.
all around the room. Icicles
Terminator 2.
Yeah, Terminator 2. Yes, stuck in the walls and the ceiling and the floor. And you know what? The other person that was in there looks at her and just so terrified, she explodes too. And boom,
Yes!
they all explode. Everybody
Yes!
explodes. The temple explodes, but every one of us lives. We're standing there
Yes.
with this obliterated amount of rubble around us, and then
gold coins begin falling.
this griffin comes flying down from the sky with the convoker, and it crashes into the ground, exploding, and leaving nothing. Nothing is left except for a small satchel of gold. And we move and we pick it up, and when we pick it up, we hear a clink sound, and it's in our inventory, and then we all high-five photo op.
Yes.
Do we all agree?
I think we call it a night. Yeah, I think we agree. And
done.
we are so
We-
inspired.
Well
we are so inspired. Everyone, give yourself an inspiration.
Yes,
All
yes.
right.
Yes.
I'm gonna take 3.
I'm gonna take 4.
I'm gonna give you guys. I'm gonna take 3 inspiration. I think we should level up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're what, level 11 now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
11
yeah.
sounds
Great.
Yeah.
11
okay.
sounds great. I'm gonna go ahead and roll my hit dice. What about you guys?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll 2 d20s as my hit dice.
Pretty excellent.
It's,
I'm gonna go ahead and roll per
17 hit points.
Yeah, woo!
Yep.
Roll.
There we go.
I'm gonna go ahead and roll percentile for mine. That is a 71. That is a 71.
That's perfect.
I'm gonna go ahead
Percentile hit dice.
and just for the hell of it, maybe just to be nice, I'm gonna send the Google Hangout link back to Matt just in case he can't reach it anymore.
Actually, even if you do that, he won't be able to start the broadcast. It's almost like he should start a new broadcast because it would probably stop recording and invite us.
It still says live though. I think we're still live.
You think it's still recording it?
It still says it for me.
Facebook.
It still
Is
says
he
live.
trying to
Go on
message
YouTube.
us?
Go to
Yeah.
YouTube, see if it's still doing it.
Let's see if we're still broadcasting here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, but
Yeah,
actually I'm not sorry because my character just leveled up to level 73. So screw it.
We're definitely still live on YouTube.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna go ahead and roll a few
Okay,
d20s
he's
to see
sending
how
us a
much more
message.
strength attribute goes up.
He's sending us a message on Facebook right now. I can see the 3 the ellipses he's typing to us.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I
Got
received a
Kate
message.
trying to get back. Are we still live?
Yeah, still live.
Yes. Tell him we saved the world already, though, and we are
Yep.
level 11 now.
We've saved the world already, though. Sorry, bro.
Perfect.
Thanks, Ilmater. Oh man.
Hey, I've been praying hard, guys.
I posted the link back. And,
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was.
Well, I will take this quick second for a potty break then, and
Yeah.
joins back in, and
Yes.
I'll be right back.
Magical
That's a good idea.
2 minutes break.
timing.
Yes, you guys go ahead. I'll be here when Matt gets back to let him know that we've taken a 2-minute break.
All right, I'm getting
All
some.
right.
All right. So yeah, since we're still waiting for him, the clarification on that rule, which obviously I don't care how Matt does it, but it does say that the if more than one person are in an attack with somebody,